to Hades, the reformer of hooker whores, and the bronze god, the one, the only, the legendary Chris Bay.
All right. Good morning to the good people and to the bad people, friends and enemies. And happy New Year, boom shakalaka to all of you out there. I am Chris Base. This is BaseLine. Well, it is a new show of the year. Always congregate every Saturday, and that's at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Jesus. See, this is what happens when you need more sleep. 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, and of course 5 a.m. on the West Coast. We don't acknowledge those people because they need sleep, just like me. Always wanting you to be well where you are. First and foremost, want everybody to, of course, come on board. I know it's been a couple of weeks. Get back in the habit of getting on board with this program. It shouldn't take that much to do, and that's what I want you to do, is to get on board. And Happy New Year. You know, how's your thyroid? How's everything? You're still eating Cheetos, crunchy kind, not the puffy kind, and things of that nature. We don't talk about resolutions here because we know good and goddamn well we're not going to follow through on it. But again, you want to call in, type and let us know how your holidays went. How's your New Year's Eve? Get a chance to celebrate. How'd you celebrate it? Take those, of course, and anything else on your mind on a Free Your Mind Saturday. So, of course, once again, you comment in the comment section there, just like Barbara Jean got a little early to say Saturday morning greetings. Of course, to Barbara Jean, Happy New Year to you as well. And to all of you out there, again, you do what she just did, comment on the comment section, or if you are to be so bold. Well, somebody was bold yesterday. I'll get into that in a second. To call into the call-in number, and that's, of course, 312-597-2106. Again, 312-597-2106 for you to call in. And you know me, I go for the call. Or I can put the link in into the comment section there. So let's get more volume this year when it comes to your voice. And I'll say it before and I'll say it again. Sorry about that, Mike. I'll say it before and I'll say it again. I believe, and I stand steadfast with this, that the show is more interesting to hear you. Again, I appreciate you looking at me, pontificating and things of that nature, but it's more interesting to hear your voice and your commentary. Does that have to be, once again, it's free your mind to be anything you want. It doesn't have to be relegated to what I'm saying. I'm the host, so I push the topics forward, but it could be anything on your mind. You can't get that. It's very simple, very easy. So one thing I hope for the new year is to hear more from you. Again, I understand what I'm up against. I understand we're living in an era of voyeurism and things like that, but you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. As a matter of fact, the Barbara G knows about that. My late Uncle James was a part of Operation Push, Black Man Pushing. So I'm going to push to get more of you to respond. There you go. That's pretty much it. Happy New Year, Sig Diggy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And a Happy New Year to you, Sig Diggy. Thank you for being here. My cousin Patrice, how you doing, Patrice? This is the first snowfall. Did they get snow out on the south side? I looked outside today. Yes, we got some. And we dodged a few snow flakes over the time here. For it to come now, it's very generous. of nature. Ah, very generous indeed. Barbara Jean, we miss Bowman. Yeah, I miss him too. And it's one of those things where the older you get, you realize that, and let me just speak for myself, family becomes very vital. And what I mean by that is you look around and the same people that in your family that you obviously knew, that you obviously loved, are not there anymore. And that's just life. Life does what it's supposed to do, but it still hurts. It hurts like hell. And when it's the time to go, it's just simple. It's just that person's time to go. It's all of our times to go whenever the clock stops ticking. But again, when you look at the blessings you've had by knowing family members and having them in your lives and having them when we had family get-togethers, you appreciate it more. Patrice says absolutely no one else knows you as well or has your total back. Completely. Completely, absolutely. Barbara Jean Ty says Patrice is a former co-worker. Look, my cousin Patrice is working right now. Since I've known her, which is all of my life, she probably started to go to work when she was 3 years old. I don't know what the job is or job was, but I can remember Patrice always working. And that's a testimony to her because I try to find jobs over the years and it takes a lot of work. I mean, being in the radio profession is like any other business is who you know. You get there on your own merits, your resume speaks for itself, or it's who you know, or all the above, whatever. And so, in my situation, you try to know people, but it didn't work. Jeez. So, in my situation, you had to find other avenues, obviously, to get to know the radio station, things of that nature. But no, my cousin Patrice, yeah, always working. Yes, she is. Referring to Barbara Jean. Yeah, like I said before, Patrice, you've always worked. Like I said, if you're working right now, some people just have that ability just to get jobs back to back to back. That's a great skill set. I wish I had it. Let's see. Shout out to my producers, Webb Adderley and Cynthia Pinky Yvonne. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to the both of yous as we do this new year right and try to once again bring more people into the fold voice wise. And I mean it sincerely. I know allow you out there. I know, for example, Barbara Jean don't call for nothing. Only calls on my birthday and probably around the holidays. That's kind of sketchy. But usually she'll call on my birthday. But other than that, she don't call in. She made that perfectly clear from day one. So I got that. And I strongly believe again, I'm keep on preaching this, that for me to read comments is one thing, to hear your voice is another. I'm sorry, I'm old school. I come from terrestrial radio. And I think that again, that concept is a really strong dynamic to hear your voice of what you had to say instead of me just reading off stuff. So we have to keep on keeping on with that. Let's see. Breakdown for the week. There was no CBI, no Enter the Boom Shakalaka. There was an emergency situation with my man Brian. I hope he's okay. Prayers to him. And there you go. So again, as I iterated before about CBI, quiz-based interviews, that usually airs on Wednesdays, it becomes a pop-up program now because I've just had a bad luck again of guests conking out on me and not following through. So I don't know if that's karma. I don't know if it's on their end, maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. But I just thought there's no point in promoting it to a degree. So if a guest is going to come through fingers crossed and things like that, and then I'll have him or her on with that Wednesday, let you know, and we'll go from there. Because I'm not going to chase people, and I'm not going to be communicating with people who say they're going to be there and then turn around and they don't be there. There's certain people I got a chance to reconnect with and hopefully get them on the show and book a date, and so that way we can make that happen. But there have been other people who literally have said they're going to be on, and then all of a sudden, not only they ghost, they become Casper the unfriendly ghost and just completely disappear, which I do not understand whatsoever. Now, I'm not privy to somebody's personal life, nor do I want to be. But if things happen out of the spirit of your control, I completely understand that. That's how life is. But I think being non-communicative just gets in the way. Because if I don't know, I don't know. And when tragedy strikes and things like that, I understand. But when you just completely just into thin air, thin air, I ain't got nothing. So yeah, let's hope for better guests and better communication from you on this program in the future and like right now. So again, Free Your Mind Saturday. Anything you want to talk about, please do so. Gave you the options. Hope you get a chance to participate. The Supreme Court said Friday it will decide whether former President Donald Trump can be kept off the ballot because of his efforts to overturn the 2020 election loss, inserting the court squarely in the 2024 presidential campaign. The justices acknowledge the need to reach a quick decision as voters will soon begin casting presidential primary ballots across the country. The court agreed to take up Trump's appeal of a case from Colorado stemming from his role in the events that culminated in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Underscoring the urgency, arguments will be held on February 8th during what is normally nearly a month-long winter break for the justices. A compressed time frame could allow the court to produce a decision before Super Tuesday on March 5th. The largest number of delegates are up for grabs in a single day, including in Colorado. Trump, speaking at a campaign event in Iowa, said, "All I want is fair. I just want that they're going to be fair." Yeah, okay. The court will be considering for the first time the meaning and reach of a provision of the 14th Amendment barring someone and some people who engaged in insurrection holding public office. The amendment was adopted in 1868 following the Civil War. It has been so rarely used that the nation's highest court has no previous occasion to interpret it. Colorado Supreme Court, by 4-3 majority vote, ruled last month that Trump should not be on the Republican primary ballot. The decision was the first time the 14th Amendment was used to bar a presidential contender from the ballot. So you go back out to the peanut gallery. Say good morning to Elle. How you doing, Ellie? Good morning to you too. Happy New Year. And good morning, of course, to Doc Sanders. Dr. Katrina Sanders says, "Doc based in the house." Yeah, Doc based in the house like a child on punishment. Let's see as we continue on. Trump is separately appealing to state court a ruling by Maine's Democratic Secretary of State, Sheena Bellows, that he was ineligible to appear on the state's ballot over his role in the Capitol attack. Both the Colorado Supreme Court and the Maine Secretary of State's rulings are on hold until the appeals play out. The High Court's decision to intervene, with both sides called for, is the most direct involvement in a presidential election since Bush versus Gore in 2000, when a conservative majority effectively decided the election for Republican George W. Bush, Only Justice Clarence Thomas remains from that court. 3 of the 9 Supreme Court justices were appointed by Trump, though they have repeatedly ruled against him in the 2020 election related lawsuits, as well as his efforts to keep documents related to January 6th and his tax returns from being turned over to congressional committees. So, the thing about Trump, which, depending on your lens, is someone who definitely tried to overtake the election, first and foremost. But as you know, the Trumpites who follow Trump, he is the victim. They're doing this to me. They're hurting me. I didn't do anything wrong. Why is everybody always picking on me type of spiel? And they fall for a hook, line, and sinker. And they have, again, I mentioned before in various social media programs, they never question him. They don't believe their lying eyes. They never question anything he says or does. And that's blind faith. You want to call it faith. It was unprecedented the moment he lost the 2020 election. How can people forget about the Stop the Steal outrage? Roll Sick is easy to forget because, again, the news cycles are what they are, and it was here today, gone tomorrow. But it's one of those things where it shouldn't be gone tomorrow. It should be in the forefront of our minds. I never seen anything like that before in my life. Talking about hanging his vice president at the time, Mike Pence, who was out of the race for Republican presidential nomination. He's out the race now. Why? Now, see, I think he knows something. Meaning Pence, because it would have been sweet revenge for the Pence camp for him to run, get the nomination, and of course go for the presidency. But he bowed out. It's not like he don't have any money support. He got all the money support in the world. He bowed out. That should send a message to everybody. I remember, to me, that spoke volumes, and it still does. For a former vice president to bow out of the running for the presidency, why, is the only question one should ask oneself. And people forget that Trump was convincing his supporters, if we lose, it's because the election was stolen. When you use rhetoric and words like that, going back to what Stick had just typed, people do fall for it. Because, again, they sympathize with their leader. Let's see here. So on October 7th, 2020, in Muskegon, Michigan, Trump, in one of his campaign rallies, he said, if Biden wins, China will own America. He works for China. Let me repeat that for the cheap seats. On October 7th, 2020, in Muskegon, Michigan, in one of his campaign rallies, Trump said, if Biden wins, China will own America. He works for China. The New York Times reports recently Trump received millions from governments as the president, and at the time, among the countries patronizing for Mr. Trump's properties, China made the largest total payment of $5.5 million to his business interests. Say that again for the cheap seats. The New York Times reports recently Trump received millions from governments as president. Among the countries patronizing Mr. Trump's properties, China made the largest total payment of $5.5 million to his business interests. I rest my throat. And see, that's what happened. Trump has always been a person to me who points the finger at other people, but yet he always tells on himself. Always. I know it was some sort of logical thing in his mind. I don't know if anything is up there that's logical, illogical, but mostly stupidity. But the fact that he would point the finger at Biden back in October 7th, 2020, and yet he gets in office, does the most dirt, and gets the most payment from China, saying that Biden works for China, but he worked for China. Ugh. You can't make this stuff up. I wish I could, but you can't. The truth is so much fun. So let's see here. So let's break down some of the countries that were giving Trump money to him while he was in office. So let's see here. So these are payments made to Trump ORG, from foreign governments. This is when he was in office from 2017 to 2019. So he mentioned about China with 5.5 million. Saudi Arabia, let's see, clocked in at 615,422. Qatar, 4,600, 4,065, 465,744. Kuwait, 300,000 plus. Afghanistan, 1,500, 154,750. And so there you go. You get my drift. These were foreign governments that was giving Trump money while he was in office again from 2017 to 2019. And so, and don't get me wrong, there's dirt on Biden's side too with his son, Hunter and everything else. Nobody's hands are clean. Nobody's hands are clean. But we just have to be aware of our surroundings and realize what's at stake here. What's at stake here is a man, you want to call him that, who completely take this country straight to hell. And some people say, well, base, we're probably in hell right now to a degree. No, I'm talking about the embers of flames marching into hell. What's up, Bobby Stamps? How you doing? Happy New Year to you. 2024, lock Trump up. Hashtag tax evader. Yeah, I hope so. One can only hope. That believes he's smarter than everyone else, and supporters believe it. Go back to L, what she just typed. Right. It's dangerous when you can amass that much power and people just, once again, follow you blindly and never question your authority, never question it. It's dangerous. Um, I don't even know why, again, the Republican nominees are even running. They shouldn't even run because they're not even, look, it's a waste of time for Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis and those guys. It's, for example, there's going to be a Republican debate on CNN next Wednesday, January 10th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. I don't even know I'm going to watch it. I haven't watched it. I watched the first two and then seen lowlights of the others. Mm-mm. I don't believe it. You're wasting your time. Trump does not even show up for these debates because he's already leading and will continue to lead. So why should he show up? And these same people who continue to fall in line with Trump would not go after the jugular, would always give him a free pass. They go salt him. In fact, there was a story on MSNBC. I want to say it was Morning Joe. And the story dealt with a person who was campaigning for Ron DeSantis. And so Ron DeSantis was stomping, I think it was in Iowa. And the guy asked him, he said, "Can I ask you a question?" He said, "Yeah." He's like, "Can I be truthful with you?" And Sanders said, "Yeah." And so pretty much he was saying that when I see you talk about Trump, you kind of go salt on him. You don't go after him. You kind of give him, like, I'm just paraphrasing, like a free pass, something like that. And of course, DeSantis got indignant like he always does. He always gets defensive. And the guy who was trying to get the question to be answered from DeSantis was upset, and rightfully so. Here's a guy campaigning for you, and you can't answer the direct question. Why? Because you licked the boot of Trump. They all do. See, what they're doing is they're going after each other, but when it comes to Trump, they don't really go after him like they go after each other. They don't call him out of his name. They don't try to embarrass him. It's kind of false bravado. And I don't know what he has done to gain this type of power, because it's not really the power, the party of the Republicans anymore. It's the party of Trump. He made that clear years ago when he was running for office. Sick Tights, Seven Circles of Hell, and we're not talking about Dante's comedy. No, not at all. Bobby Tice, 5:34 a.m. here in California, barely awake. Sir, love you, your show and thoughts. 2024. Yeah, look, we love our West Coast people. Get your ass back in bed, or if you're waking up, do so. But yeah, we definitely feel for you. I mean, I put that in my promos all the time. What do you say? Safe and sane. Vote Biden secretly. Yeah, I'm a hashtag Bidenated. Well, good for you, man. Be proud of who you're going to vote for. Nothing wrong with that. What was the trick that we saw last election between Biden and Trump? On the outpolls, a lot of people say, "Well, I didn't vote for Trump," and they did, because they knew that they were going to get it from their families, their friends, and things of that nature. So, well, they pretty much all out lied, pretty much. Let's see. That's why it's called a personality cult. Yes, cult of personality. Yep. Not even the gun it, but be one governor in New Jersey. Yeah, gut and butt. Going back to Chris Christie. Chris Christie obviously in there for personal reasons. He does give Trump the business because, of course, they were close. He was never given a cabinet post, and just like Michael Cohen, he was scorned, and so he wants to get back at him in this situation. Which, okay, that's fine. Now he knows good and goddamn well he's not. He doesn't have a chance. Going back to Chris Christie, he does better off commentating on a George Stephanopoulos program on ABC on Sunday mornings. But again, this is war, people. And I'm not trying to be like the sky is falling, Chicken Little, something like that. I mean this sincerely, from the bottom. Depending on your lens when it comes to Trump, if January 6th did not change certain people's minds out there, then of course you still have the Trumpites who are going to follow him regardless. And for those people to once again just okay it and say it's okay to go out and be violent, to go out and storm the Capitol the way they did. And the men and women of law enforcement trying to do their jobs in a very hectic and frantic situation. That is very wrong and very sad. Once again, there's a line from the movie Malcolm X when they're referring to Brother Johnson getting beat up. And Malcolm does that thing with his finger and tells everybody the FOI, the Fruit of Islam, to disperse. And the cop said there's too much power for one man to have. Same with Trump. And like I said before, it's very dangerous. But you got to hear, Bobby, mail-in votes are powerful. Yeah, well, that's what we do. My mom and myself, yeah, we do the mail-in stuff. I have never understood the appeal for Trump. I understand the appeal, L. I get it. It's just that here comes someone who bucks the system, politics, who doesn't sound like any other politician you ever heard of before, prior to. He speaks, quote unquote, normal language, you want to call it that. He speaks to the common person, quote unquote. And people have always said, well, let's not have politicians, let's have a business person come in and run the government like a business. That was supposed to be Trump. And we saw what happened the time he was in office. And of course, we saw what happened on January 6th. Not trying to accept the fact that he lost. Bobby Tyson, most wise people hate Trump. Yeah, and you hate to use the word hate, but it does gets into this conversation here. Because the people, again, who follow him, just they're just there, and no matter what he says or does, it's okay. Actually, Trump despises Christie because the latter convicted Jared Kushner's father, Charles. It was, I think he said, 2005, and that was on a plea deal. I'd always say it's always personal. Always personal. We heard the adage, I keep telling people for years, don't take it personal. Guy, it's just business. No, it's always personal. Always. So, for example, go back to Chris Christie on the campaign run. Yeah, this is personal because he wants to get back at Trump. I like the zingers and stuff like that. But I stand by what I said in the first debate for the Republicans going for the presidency. And Brett Baer from Fox News had asked a question about would you support a convicted felon in Donald Trump? I'm paraphrasing the question. And everybody raised their hand. Even Chris Christie, he had his little church finger up. He was checking everybody else out and then did like that. But this is the man he's supposed to go after. This is the man that he is attacking personally, yet he will support him. So all of that was at the table. Only person that did not raise his hand at that at the dais was Asa Hutchinson, which you have not seen since. He made it clear, I will not support Donald Trump. I had to give credit when credit is due. Chris basically can't speak. He never says anything that I can understand. But L, he's not speaking to you. Understand that. He's not speaking to you. He's speaking to other people that receives the message. It's not to me. It's not to you, not to him, her, or anybody else. It's to the base of people that will listen. The base of people that would regurgitate and repeat and embrace what he says, those people he's speaking to, he's not speaking to you. You're not supposed to understand because it's not the language you understand. It's for the others. Oh, he's not speaking to you. So there you go with that. It's always something. So once again, your conversation fuels the program. You can always call in at 312-597-2106 or comment in the comment section there. Let's see. Okay, hold on a second. It's always interesting when I go to Facebook and I run into people I've not seen in eons. Always nice to reconnect with certain people. It's always cool. Let's see. The third round of documents from a lawsuit connected to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted pedophile who died in jail before he could face trial on federal sex trafficking charges, was released to the public Friday. Friday's release included over 1,300 pages as of mid-afternoon, and it follows hundreds of pages of documents already unsealed on Wednesday and Thursday, with more expected. The unsealed documents are part of the 2015 civil defamation suit brought by Virginia Roberts Guthrie, an American woman who claimed Epstein sexually abused her as a minor, and that, let's say, Miss Maxwell here, Epstein's former girlfriend, aided in the abuse. The unsealing this week stems from a December 18th court order from the judge overseeing the lawsuit in response to Media Legal's effort to publicly release the documents. Documents in total, including material yet to be unsealed, and expected to include nearly 200 names, including some of Epstein's accusers, prominent business people, politicians, and potentially more. So, some people on this list that he had dinner with during Epstein, Donald Trump, goes on to say former President Bill Clinton met him on Epstein's plane. He also said he met Prince Andrew with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson at a Palm Beach home, according to depositions. So these things have been out already, these names. Now, for the record, you can, of course, know someone and, of course, not be around them 24/7. And because of what they're going through legality-wise, it's like, hey, you and I got to part company. And there isn't any proof with some of these names that these same names have been associated with pedophilia or sex trafficking. I can't hang out with you, Jeff, because you're bad for business. Good morning to Enova Ingram. Happy New Year to you, Chef Enova Ingram, who, of course, is the official chef. Her and her brother Mark are the official cooks for BaseLine. And so you know the routine. Enova, once again, Happy New Year to you and your brother Mark. What is on today's breakfast menu? As I always tell people, be prepared because you will gain weight by reading it. I know I do. Oh, help. So true, so true. Let's see. So, let's see. Juan Alessi told attorneys about having dinner, of course, with Donald Trump and the Bill Clinton meeting on the plane and things like that. So, When asked on Wednesday about the appearance of Clinton's name in an earlier batch of unsealed documents, a Clinton spokesman reiterated a 2019 statement that Clinton had flown on Epstein's private plane, but said Clinton knew nothing of the financier's troubled crimes. The spokesman said that it is now been nearly 20 years since President Clinton last had contact with Epstein. Clinton has not been accused of any crimes or wrongdoings related to Epstein. Trump has also not been accused of any crimes or wrongdoings with regard to Epstein. When asked earlier this week about Trump's name appearing in the newly unsealed documents, a Trump spokesman reacted by attacking the media. Well, there you go. Alessi also spoke about young women who came to the house and to give Epstein massages. Alessi answered questions about one female whom he understood to be under the age of 18. Her name was still redacted from the unsealed documents. Alessi said her mother would occasionally accompany her to Epstein's home. In terms of payment, everybody got $100 an hour. Alessi said. Famed magician and illusionist David Copperfield is among the high-profile men ID'd as a friend to Epstein. Copperfield's name is mentioned during the deposition testimony released Friday of one of Epstein's then employees. Sarah Kellen was the then employee. A lawyer for the plaintiffs asked about Epstein's relationship with the illusionist and whether they recruited girls for each other. The lawyer questioned if Copperfield gives tickets to Epstein for young women when he is performing shows and if the girls were invited backstage after the shows. To all questions, Kellen asserts her Fifth Amendment right and refuses to answer the question. Yep, curiouser and curiouser. More importantly, January 6th is Christmas Eve for all Orthodox Christians. It's always interesting when you throw in the symbolics. Thank you, Sig Diggy, for symbolism of things. You know, like the whole thing with the Israeli Hamas war going on and Yom Kippur and those things. So they're always in line, I think, with some sort of reverence and connectability to something. So when people stop associating with certain people, it's definitely, I don't want to be, you're in a situation like guilt by association. I can't rock and roll with you. I can't do it. And it becomes an interesting thing to say, the very least. So when you look at the dynamic of how people are and how people have to protect their brands just to protect themselves. So if your friend or associate is out there doing the most, you don't want to be around that person. Okay, here's the menu from Chef Eneva and Chef Mark. Be prepared to gain weight as you read. Okay, so breakfast menu: country style pork bacon slices, scrambled eggs with cheese, white onions and green peppers, cinnamon raisin toast with Smucker's grape jelly, and Hershey hot cocoa with marshmallows. Again, country style pork bacon slices, scrambled eggs with cheese, white onions and green peppers, cinnamon raisin toast with Smucker's grape jelly, and Hershey hot cocoa with marshmallows. Yeah. Telling you, they don't play. As always, Eneva, thank you for sharing today's breakfast menu. Copperfield is also named in a 2016 deposition released Wednesday by a woman who managed Epstein for years in the early 2000s. She says she met the illusionist at a dinner at Epstein's Palm Beach residence and testified it was her observation the two were friends. Joanne Sloberg testified in a deposition that Copperfield performed magic tricks while he was at the Palm Beach house and asked her what she knew about Epstein's method for procuring girls to work for him. He questioned me as if I was aware that girls were getting paths to find other girls, she said. Copperfield didn't elaborate at the time. She also said there was another girl at the house that seemed young. At a dinner that included Copperfield, she recalled thinking at the time that the girl could have been in high school. CNN reached out for representatives for Copperfield for comment. The name of disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein appeared in a 2005 handwritten note left for Epstein as well. The handwritten note dated March 1st, 2005 appears to be a telephone message left for Epstein that Weinstein attempted to call Epstein that morning. She had on the phone Mr. Harvey Weinstein. The message reads, it was included among nearly 200 written phone messages. Let's see, of course, now that person was once an asset will become a detriment to you and your reputation, honor, and brand. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's just no way, no how you're going to hang out with that person. It is the end. Now, what's interesting is that Epstein was found in his jail cell that he hanged himself. And he had all those names. I don't believe it. I don't believe he hanged himself. I believe he was taken out. And yes, I had to start getting like my conspiracy tinfoil hat so I could put it on and embarrass myself further. That's the first thing that came to mind. I read the story about him being hanged in the cell. It was like, hey man, you gotta go. You got too much information on people. What's up, Snowman? Good morning to my main man, one of my main man, Brian Snow there. Rain Man, how you doing? How you feeling? Thank you for being here. And it says the truth is coming to the light. Well, that's what happens. The old adage, whatever's done in the dark, come to the light. Never fails. A lot of light going on. A lot of light. Rots and Ross are right. As Scooby-Doo would say. Ooh wee. Feeling better, Rain Man? Good. Good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Oh, yeah, man. So we got here sick. He had to go, gotta go, as Robin Harris would say. Yeah. Love Robin Harris. One of the best to ever do it. And the next hour, not now, but the next hour, we get into the whole thing with Cat Williams, who definitely had a lot to say on Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's interview program. We touched on it yesterday. So what happened yesterday was, let's see. So Snowman in the Morning program was canceled due to an emergency, and I had my setup here ready to do my hit with him, Enter the Boom Shakalaka. So I figured while I was on, let me just go on Facebook Live and say hello to the good people out there and the bad. And I did that, and I was on for like an hour, and we were chopping up about Cat Williams. So we will revisit that topic, not now, in the next hour. We'll get into that. So let's see here. It's amazing how there's a price for everything. And what I mean by that is not just getting prices for things of that nature. if you want sex with minors, which is disgusting, and again, sex trafficking and things like that, there's a price for everything. And when these people, and not saying the people involved, because once again, they haven't proved anything from these names on this list, again, you may know this person, you've been to their home for parties, separate get-togethers, whatever, does not mean you had hung out with them in their lewd behavior, unless it's proven. So when that happens, you just have to realize that you got to back it up, money. You have to get away from that person because they're just not good for you. It ain't good, man. Welcome back to Pastor. So he is, of course, the executive director of Crisis Intervention / Victims Advocate at Solution and Resources. He has committed his life to providing immediate comfort, aid, assist families, individuals, and communities in the wake of violence and or traumatic events. The man who will not let Chicago down. Please welcome back to BaseLine. And Happy New Year to him, Pastor Jonathan Price. Happy New Year, bro.
Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year. Seems like I ain't talked to you since last year. Ha, ha, ha.
It feels that way, don't it?
Yeah. I woke up to something today, boy, didn't we?
Man, look, man, we've been doing pretty good without it for a while, so we got to count our blessings on that one. It could have come very early.
Yeah, we good with it. I'm good with it. It's the winter. You know, I expect snow in the winter. You got a bunch of folks that act like they surprised.
Look, man, like I said, I'm cool with it too, because again, growing up here in the city, as soon as December hit, or right around, say, Thanksgiving, going into the first week of December, you get that winter time, and that destroys everything. You have that and the wind chill. So I can take the snow to a degree. You throw in the wind chill. When I was a youth and I was going to high school, stand on the corner on the CTA waiting for the bus. My ancestors felt the cold.
I know that's right.
Man, it was no joke, doctor.
Man, I remember back in the day when it used to snow once on July just to let us know.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm coming. It's like, hey, get used to it. Here's a little taste. Like his little taste, because by the time I come around November, December, it's the wrap.
I know that's right.
Oh man, how was your New Year's? How'd you spend your New Year's? You all right? How'd it go?
I just chilled, man. I just really chilled. My family and I, we go to eat Chinese food on New Year's Eve, and so we did that around 6 o'clock. And then I was still awoke by the time New Year's hit. So I was doing stupid stuff like watching what's that, New Year's Rockin' Eve. Yeah, it's that bad.
You know, I used to know the artists that were performing musical stuff. I don't know anybody anymore.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah. Well, I knew them, so I watched, especially like Megan Thee Stallion. I can always enjoy her choreography.
Yes. You ain't the only one, Doc.
Right. Such brilliant choreography.
Fantastic.
I keep up with them, for the most part, and so I enjoy it, and I enjoy watching the folks there in New York doing something that I would absolutely never do.
They're on a whole different level with that. I ain't gonna stand out there that cold, man. I can't.
Yeah, they say in order to get going to carve a turkey for Chinese New Year. Do I look Chinese to you? No. Right. I might carve a turkey sandwich.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. But no, to stand out there, and they say in order to get a good spot, they start during the day in the morning. And they have to stand in one spot. They literally have to stand in one spot because they got them separated into little squares so that they can keep track of the people, and the safety reasons. And they had that safety down pat, boy. Them New York boys wasn't playing.
Obviously, you had to have like porta potties because there's no way in the world you're going to stand in one spot and not relieve unless you just
Right.
want lots and lots of depends. Which
Right,
I heard some people do that too. Yeah,
that's disgusting.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Damn it, Dave Chappelle on me.
It's the year of the dragon.
Yeah, well, my butt is definitely dragging on. So dragging on through the new year.
I know, right?
Yes,
oh, man. So what do you have for us? I mean, have any updates so far, or just the new year? So we're just getting it up and running. So
just getting up and running, literally running.
Right.
No, it's been slow, and it continues to be slow. This is the 6th day of the new year, and there have been 2 people killed and 18 people shot and wounded, which is low, super low compared to previous years. And it's been low the past little while. And, it's regularly, I would definitely say ebb and flow, or any other factors. But this time I can't say, it's been so slow that I can't say ebb and flow this time. It may be Snelling. The Snelling factor may be a thing. And you don't see him. He's not a press conference guy. He ain't doing those, safety updates on Friday. None of that. Seems like the job is getting done. And from what I see, being in the midst of everything, they definitely are on the carjackers, because the carjackers, they keep them cars for a couple of days at least, and that's when they get popped by them helicopters. With the license plate readers, you can't get over a helicopter with a license plate reader. You're a loser.
No, you can't. And crime, as you know, Pastor, is always 24/7. And but just the fact that you said the numbers are low, even though it's still crime, it's about 2 deaths and 18 people being shot. Again, you hate to say, but that is a good day compared to the other stats.
Oh yeah,
that we've heard you talk about as well.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It's interesting. It gives me a chance to broaden what I do for families. Actually, finally get a chance to put together a family group, which means about 10 to 15 families that we work together. We're going to be, of course, meeting and talking about things that concern them. Trauma-wise, but they're going to be doing service projects. And so they're going to be out helping others because there's a great deal of healing that happens when you help others with one thing or another. And so they're going to be out doing service projects and just creating things for them to help them in their healing and help others with their healing and growth. And sometimes they're just everyday life. And so we're going to be doing some of that. And so I look forward to that greatly.
Could you elaborate more about that, Pastor? Because when we have you on here, you give us your stats and give us updates about when you talk about families who go through all this trauma, but the healing part is when I think, again, I mean, every part you do is your strong point, but when you're talking about the aftermath of helping people, whether it's once again the family that you helped out with that got the home and the gifts and everything else during the holiday season about a season or 2 ago, elaborate more about helping and healing.
Yeah, well, I mean, these people relive what I respond to every day, and the aftermath, and looking at that bedroom that's no longer occupied, and thinking of the last moments, and a certain level of guilt that goes with just the death, especially the death of a child on behalf of the parent. Maybe I should have kept him in. What did I do wrong? Maybe, I should have used the car that day. When you run into those situations, there's something, and in a lot of cases, it builds up instead of dies down. One thing I always tell my families is the fact that there is no timing for grief. Grief is what it is, and does what it does. And so don't let people rush you through your grief. Don't think that you're grieving too long or whatever the case may be, because it easily goes on years with some of the parents that I deal with, and nothing changes. Sometimes it gets worse. Now they may be able to have a few more days that are so-called good, but the fact of the matter is, it's still a very heavy load on them for the rest of their lives.
Well, especially when you relive it, like if a person loses a loved one due to violence and say gunshot and they were shot to death, and you're watching the news and that's all you see and hear on local news about people getting shot and everything else, even on national news, you hear that as well. So you're having like post-traumatic stress disorder or reliving that all over again.
Absolutely. And even, I know with myself, I did a toy drive a couple of weeks ago. It was on the news and all of that. During the toy drive, I got two of the families that I work with. It just so happened that these two families total about 20 kids. So there's a lot of kids here, and we were able to have a fun time. They actually opened the presents here and played with them here, which is a little different with toy drives, but we had a great time. And so the toys were wrapped, and some of them were wrapped, but at the very least, they had the different child's names on them.
Yes,
because we used their actual Christmas list to buy the toys. And so, as one of the children came up to me, when he said his name, I recognized his name as that of his father who had been shot and killed. And I had that with the case. And to hear that name come out of that child, it almost stuck me. Like, when I heard his name, it was just like I had to pause for a second.
Yes.
It was something. So the trauma that I know I experienced, theirs has got to be 10,000 times more. And so it never goes away. And this actual case had to happen 3 to 4 years ago at the very least. But just the mention of that child's name really took me back in a traumatic sense.
Well, I have to applaud you for the fact that you were able to, and I saw the piece here locally on Channel 9, and I got a chance to check it out. And what was great, and you just mentioned it, and not to belittle other gift giving when it's kind of generic, and you just give the child a toy and everything else. It's extremely personal to see their names on it. You said before there was the actual Christmas list. You guys were able to make that happen. That I think goes maybe just a little bit further.
Well, it does. I wish we could do more, and in the future, perhaps it could be bigger. When you do something different, which when I first got this calling in 2016, I had two or three people that were kind of helping me out. Of course, I didn't know it would turn into this, but what I remember telling them in a meeting is that everything we do needs to be different. It needs to be different in some way. It needs to be higher. It needs to be more detailed, and needs to be personal. And of course, it got more personal as the years went on. And so with this toy drive, that's what I wanted. Even if we do less kids, but it has a bigger effect. That's the thing. And it just so happens that we ended up doing 3 families. The third family, they got their toys actually the next day, but that was just because of timing. And this was a young lady that I saw in the Family Dollar with 2 little girls. It looked like they were having a little trouble paying for what they did have. But in any case, I sent my assistant over to ask her if she needed toys for the girls for Christmas. And she looked like, yes, I absolutely do. She had the look actually and the reaction as if she had not been able to get anything for the girls for Christmas. And so I said, so we exchanged numbers with her, and she finally got over here, I think later on Christmas Eve. She got over here, and when she found out the amount of toys we had for the girls and everything, because she thought we'd give her one or two, but she, had a nice little bag, your little Santa Claus bag full of toys for the girls, and she literally burst into tears.
Yes.
Because she probably wouldn't have gotten anything. The little girls wouldn't have got anything. And we think about celebrating Christmas and this and that. I don't celebrate this and I don't celebrate that. But the fact of the matter is, whether or not we celebrate kids, the effect on the children is devastating sometimes. When they go back to school and or their little friends or whatever the case may be, and we don't celebrate Christmas. We didn't get anything. That's a negative impact on the children. And so whatever you want to call it, however you want to celebrate it, we don't really celebrate Christmas, and you better have a reason for not celebrating it if you don't. We don't really celebrate Christmas, but here's some toys, here's some new stuff for you. Make it some kind of special. You can call it Grandma Day. I don't give a damn. Whatever it is, right. Just as long as you do something to counter so that the children get to enjoy, a moment, especially in a time like these little girls when they got anything. And so, and God just happened to whisper to me in the Family Dollar.
And that's always a good thing, because sometimes we get these voices in our head, we don't respond. We don't listen. We think it's indigestion, or we got to go to the bathroom or something like that. It's something stupid. But the fact that you listen, it's like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. That ain't no, that's a voice trying to tell me I got to go sit down. So no, but people have their reason for doing things, but the fact you responded and started the chain of events, it is right there is the blessing within itself. Let's see. Good morning, my brother in broadcasting. We have Dr. Ron Ford. Good morning, Dr. Ron. How you doing? Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
When you talk about the time of giving, I remember when I was back at WLS Radio, and one of the guys who produced the show for, his name was Jay Marvin. And so Jay's come on at nights like 7, not 7, he was wrong. That's 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Monday through Friday nights. So around the holiday season, and this boy calls him, like 8 or 9 years old. I was like, shouldn't you be asleep? I listen to Jay all the time. I said, all right, then, well, hopefully your mother don't catch you, listening to Jay, because Jay can kind of raunchy sometimes. And we laughed a little bit, and he just wanted to call over, wish Jay happy birthday. Happy birthday. Take that back. It was a relative that Jay's birthday was during the December, and of course, happy holidays. So it was a little bit of both. So then I screened him, put him on the phone, put on the air with Jay, and Jay's like, hey, how old are you? I'm 9. Shouldn't you be in bed? So like the same thing about, hey man, you should be in bed. Right. 11, 17 at night. So the boy goes on to talk about his mother lost her job, and they didn't know about what they're going to get for Christmas and things like that. So he pretty much had told the story. Then Jay told me during the break, get his name and number and information. I'm going to call his mother soon. And come to find out that Jay and his wife, Mary, met the young boy's mother and the young boy in a parking lot somewhere in Indiana. And Jay and Mary gave him all these Christmas gifts.
Wow, absolutely,
like a trunk full of Christmas gifts. So again, even in my own little world, when I was living in South Shore, and you run into people on a daily basis that are not doing so well, and you just give them a gift or put some love in their hand, and you can see in their faces how much they appreciate it, because again, you can walk around and nobody will acknowledge you like you're not even here.
Absolutely.
And it's not just this time of year, but all year round. So, but especially during that time of year where it's a little more heavier than most, because of course it's the season to give and you're around family and friends, everything is very festive. But just the fact that someone took time out to care about you, again, it just goes to the roof. It goes a long way. It really does.
Absolutely. I've always said something, and call it deep or not, but I think it's deep. But I've always said, if it's 6 degrees of separation, you ought to be responsible for at least 1 degree.
It is deep. I like that.
And, and that's what you have to do. You have to reach out. You have to be willing, and you probably have heard me say, in order to affect things, if you can affect one person, it almost takes that each one teach one. But if you can
Yes.
affect one young person, if you can affect one adult, if you can affect anybody in your sphere, and your sphere is not just those people you talk to all the time. Your sphere is those people you come in contact with. You know, for me to notice, she was a couple of people up in line from me, so there was no interaction between her and me, other than the fact that I noticed, it's just something about her and the girls. It seemed, she wasn't buying any Christmas stuff, first of all.
Mhm.
And, it seemed like she was really trying to make sure she could pay for everything there in the Family Dollar. And so rather than me go up to her, I had my assistant, who's a female, go up to her and ask her. And her immediate response was yes, yes, and it was obvious that she needed, what she needed. And so I kept in contact with her and had her come up on Christmas Eve. And I had separated all the toys that was left after the drive, and separated those into all the girls, all the toys that were girl toys. It was quite a few, and she was able to come and take advantage of that and give the girls a Christmas.
Well, as you know, Pastor, it's not just the holiday season, it's what you do all year round. And again, you're right when it comes to the effectiveness of one person, because one person always can make a difference. It's the classic each one teach one, like you just said. And I think that, again, you never know the impact you have on a person. They can see you do something. Oh, well, you know what? Because he did me and it gave us a great positive effect. Maybe I'll try it, and maybe I'll help somebody, and maybe I'll try to bless somebody. So again, it goes back to an example. It's not forcing it. We're not trying to force stuff. But again, if you feel deemed to, if the Spirit moves you to do it, then
Hmm.
don't ignore it and do it. You just might be surprised.
Absolutely. And guess who reached out to me to do his show?
Who's that?
It's quite a John Walsh. John
Oh
Walsh.
man, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, America's Most Wanted.
That's right.
He has a new show on the Discovery Channel called In Pursuit. Probably very similar. And
Yes,
he lost his son Adam. You remember they kidnapped
I
him and
remember that.
killed Adam.
Mhm.
He had another son. He had, I think, 2 or 3 children since that point, and one is named
Mhm.
Callahan. And Callahan runs the show with John, which is on the Discovery Channel. And they call me, regarding my work and such, which is an honor
It is.
in itself. And then
Congratulations.
we're going to profile the youngest victim we've had in Chicago, which was 5-month-old named Cecilia. And
Mhm.
so her mom's going to come in from Iowa because her mom moved away to try and get,
Okay.
away from everything. She's going to come in, and we're going to do something with that story. So that'll be a great thing coming up on the Discovery Channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. Pastor, it's again, congratulations on the upcoming segment that you would have with John Walsh. I used to watch America's Most all the time. Used to be on
Oh, who
Fox.
didn't?
I know, right? Yeah, he owned that show. I mean, he pretty much had paved the way for those investigative shows you see now. Because
Oh,
he was
absolutely.
out there doing it. Yes, sir.
And it was personal. You could tell with him, it wasn't just a show. There was no like glorification to it. It was what it was.
Right. He was the real deal. Barbara Jean types real quick that she met John Walsh many years ago in New Orleans. Very cool.
Oh, yes, sir. That's a great
Yeah,
thing.
very cool. Brother, congratulations, man. And keep us informed about that, because we'll definitely check it out, support everything you do. Again, it's one of those things where when I hear stories of of what you do, and talking about again the healing and helping, it just furthers the cause of what you're doing and helping others, so they can go on to not only help and heal themselves, but maybe to help and heal others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And everybody can do that. No matter how much you're hurting yourself for whatever reason, you can still do that, and you'll be surprised on its effect reciprocally on your pain.
Absolutely. Pastor Donovan Price, where can people find more information about you, sir?
America's Most Wanted. No.
You called Mr. Price in Chicago.
Mr. Price was apprehended in Chicago without problem.
Right. Or it was two places, Chicago or Atlanta at a Waffle House.
That's right, at the Waffle House. That would be the worst thing ever.
Right.
To get arrested at the Waffle House, unless I was finished already.
Oh, look, catch you in mid-chew. Pastor Donovan Price, huh?
Right. If I'm through already, but if I'm through eating, but before I pay the bill, is a great time to be caught.
There you go, right? Yes, sir.
But you can catch me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and of course the website, www.solutionsandresources.org, which I have more time to work on now, and things like that. And of course, you can catch me as long as I wake up or just plain my mind ain't working. You can catch me every Saturday morning on the Chris Base Show, something that's near and dear to my heart, that's for sure.
Oh, man, we love you more. Thank you, Pastor. Have a good day and the rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother. Peace. Pastor Donovan Price joins us in the second hour of BaseLine every Saturday morning, right here on this program. Can't get more simple than that. Let's see. Again, congratulations to Pastor on the John Walsh segment. He mentioned that he's on the Discovery Channel these days, so that's going to be cool. Looking forward to seeing that. Let's see, I had mentioned this a few weeks ago, and it still breaks my heart because I really admire this man. Maurice Hines, the Broadway dancer, choreographer, and actor who famously showcased his skills alongside his late younger brother Gregory Hines in a Nicholas Brothers-like act featured in Francis Ford Coppola's The Cotton Club, died. He was 80 years old. Hines died of natural causes at the actor's fun home in Englewood, New Jersey. His cousin and rep, Richard Nurse, told The Hollywood Reporter he lived there for a couple of years. The elegant Harlem-born Hines received a Tony Award nomination in 1986 for Best Actor in the Musical for Uptown It's Hot, and starred again on Broadway in 2006 Hot Feet. He conceived, directed, and choreographed both productions. In his Hollywood Reporter review of the 2019 documentary Maurice Hines, Bring Them Back, Frank Scheck wrote that the Hines brothers had a falling out and didn't talk for 10 years for reasons that Maurice refuses to discuss to this day. He provided no explanation in the film, but instead takes every opportunity to praise Gregory and say how much he loved him. Nonetheless, the lingering emotional pain of their rift is deeply evident in such moments as Maurice sadly remembering that they didn't even speak to each other at their mother's wedding, to her great distress. The film includes footage of Gregory's Tony Awards acceptance speech in 1992, in which he pointedly thanked everyone in his family except for his brother. He even takes pains when mentioning his father, so nobody misunderstood. His father, of course, is Gregory Hines Sr. They would reconcile before Gregory died of cancer at age 57 in 2003. Maurice Robert Hines Jr. was born in December 13th. I take that back. He is Jr. That's Maurice. I'm sorry. Was born in December 13th, 1943 to Alma and Maurice Sr., a soda salesman who taught himself to play drums and raised the family at West 150th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. He and Gregory, 26 months his junior, studied tap dancing at Henry Latang in Manhattan and analyzed the acrobatic Nicholas brothers, Fayard and Harold, who dazzled audiences in clubs, theaters, and on the screen. So my bad. So the father is Maurice Sr. The documentary Maurice Hines, Bring Them Back, I strongly recommend to see. I saw it about maybe going on a year and a half ago. They're going on 2 years now. And to me, I knew of Maurice Hines, obviously, but I didn't know that much about him until I saw the documentary. Once again, everybody knew Gregory Hines was out there doing it in 3D. And of course, going into movies and having more of that exposure while his brother Maurice stayed with stage and eventually teaching dance. And it was a very powerful documentary. You got a chance, to, of course, to know more about Maurice. He did say, as I read from the piece here, that they had this falling out, him and his brother Gregory, over something. And I admire that. I admire the fact he kept it between him and his brother. Because he was asked in the documentary, what was the riff about? That's between my brother and me. And you have to admire that. And just a skilled performer, one of the best to ever do it. And my heart goes out to his family and friends, because it's always difficult to let somebody go in general when they pass away, but when they're such full of life. You can be having a bad day, you had your head hung low, but you're around this certain person or persons and they just lift your whole day up. Just being in their presence, just being in their space. There's something about that person who can uplift who you are and where you are in your life. They're able to do that. That's a gift from God. And when that life is snuffed out and it's not there anymore, you knew you had something special. Very special. I definitely had admired Maurice's candor, his no-nonsense take on things. Because that's how I appreciate people. Don't go around John's barn and up and through the woods to grandma's house we go, all that crap. No. Just tell me straight out. And some people like to be lulled to sleep. I ain't got time to be lulled to sleep. Tell me something. Tell me the truth. And see, a lot of people can't do that. And so when I was watching the documentary with Maurice Hines, he was just that out there to tell the truth. And some people, as they say, can't handle the truth, and they just can't. They'd rather be told lies to. Lulled to sleep. Lullabies. And that's what they want, and that's what they get. So again, rest in power, Maurice Hines left us at the age of 80. Again, if you have not seen Maurice Hines, Bring Them Back, yeah, check that out. Let's see here. David Soul passed away, Starsky and Hutch fame. He was the one who played Hutch. He was 80 years old. Started alongside Paul Michael Glazer in ABC's buddy cop show Starsky and Hutch. Also the #1 hit, Don't Give Up on Us. The song, he was 80 years old. Soul died Thursday after a valiant battle for life in the loving company of his family. His wife, Helen Snell, said in a statement. He shared many extraordinary gifts in the world as an actor, singer, storyteller, creative artist, and dear friend. His smile, laughter, and passion for life will be remembered by many whose lives he has touched. Soul appeared for 2 seasons on the ABC 1968-1970 show Here Comes the Brides, played one of the corrupt young motorcycle cops brought down by Clint Eastwood's Harry Callahan in the movie Magnum Force 1973, and stood out as a terrified vampire hunter in 1979 Stephen King's CBS miniseries Salem's Lot. Now, I remember that as a kid. That scared the bejesus out of me. And once again, this is a TV movie now. Some of those TV movies back in the day were pretty shocking. And I remember, because again, you recognize people on TV from time to time, and I remember he was in that, Salem's Lot. And for a TV movie, I put that against some of these horror movies that's out there now. And this was a 1979 when it came out for CBS. The miniseries, and Salem's Lot was deep. Ooh-wee. On 2 NBC shows in 1983 to 1984, he played Rick Blaine on Casablanca, a TV prequel to the Humphrey Bogart classic. He starred alongside Sam Elliott and Sybil Shepherd on his primetime soap, The Yellow Rose. So definitely working. As Kenneth Hutchinson, an undercover cop from Minnesota working in the fictional Southern California town of Bay City, the blonde, blue-eyed soul appeared in all 92 episodes of Starsky and Hutch, which lasted 4 seasons from April 1975 to May 1979. The series created by William Blinn and executive produced by Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg, also Glazer as Hutch's partner and fellow police academy graduate David Starsky, Antonio Fargas as Streetwise informant Huggy Bear, and they rode around in the red and white Ford Gran Torino. Yeah, I liked him. I really liked his acting style. Don't Give Up on Us was written and produced by Englishman Tony Macaulay and released in the U.S. in January 1977. During the second season of Starsky and Hutch, spent a week at the top of the Billboard charts, 100 charts, and it also got to number 1 in the UK, Canada, Australia, and elsewhere. He had another hit with Silver Lady that year. So before he got the role of Hutch on Starsky and Hutch, he was a singer. Soul was a singer who opened up for the likes of Frank Zappa, the Byrds, and Lovin' Spoonful. So not too shabby on that either. But to have his own hit, Don't Give Up on Us, going into the second season of Starsky and Hutch is not too shabby. Soul was born David Richard Solberg in Chicago on August 28, 1943. His parents, June and Richard, were teachers. His father was a Lutheran minister who helped to aid the reconstruction of Europe following World War II. His family spent time between Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Berlin before Soul graduated from high school and Washington High School in Sioux Falls in 1961. After turning down an offer from the baseball Chicago White Sox, he attended Augustine College for 2 years, then spent a year at the University of Americans in Mexico City, where he learned to play guitar and developed a passion for music. Yeah, another talented person. Again, age 80. Same age as Maurice Hines. Now, you may be familiar with this guy depending on your ear for radio or the program Coast to Coast AM. So Coast to Coast AM was a program that still is in production. It still is on the air. originally created by a guy named Art Bell, and it came out in the 2000s and changed the way listening of overnight radio was. So Art Bell would talk about UFOs and vampires and werewolves and remote viewing and things like that. All these avant-garde and outrageous subjects nobody would go near because they think you're a nut. But it's the fact that he was able to create a world of people who were interested in those type of things. Once again, this is the around the 2000s, and it's talked about more now, but you're talking about back then when it was kind of unheard of. So over the years, Coast to Coast has had various fill-in hosts or variation of the show. And so there was a guy who hosted Coast to Coast. His name was Ian Punnett. And Ian Punnett, I remember because Ian used to work here in Chicago at WGN AM radio. And so that's why I've heard of him. I remember listening to the show a few times. I wasn't really impressed at the time, but I gave him his respect like I give most people in radio their respect. But then after he left GN, I think he kind of globetrotted around a few stations here and there. Also, I'm listening to Coast AM, and he's guest hosting on the program, which I thought was a good fit for him. He passed away. I'll just read you from the Coast to Coast website. It is with deep sadness that we share the news that Ian Punnett passed away from a brief illness yesterday, but this is in the timeline earlier. His keen intellect and delightful sense of humor will be missed deeply. Since 2000, Ian has, in various incarnations, been a valued host of Coast to Coast AM, including regular weekend hosting duties, his own spinoff show, Coast to Coast Live with Ian Punnett, a podcast entitled Vaudeville for the Frightened, and most recently, twice a month hosting duties. So the person writing this was saying that they had the pleasure of producing for Ian for the past 24 years, that they will miss their friendship and professional collaboration. Every conversation behind the scenes was lively and entertaining, and everything we strive for on the air. Ian was great radio personified. Good stuff. It was I liked Ian in the role at Coast to Coast AM because you really had to have a mystique for it. I mean, Art Bell, of course, was the master at it. George Norrie is the current host because Art Bell unfortunately passed away. George Norrie is now the current host of Coast to Coast AM. When Coast to Coast AM is at its highest popularity, it has surpassed Larry King as the most listened to overnight host in the history of radio. So when I would hear Ian on Coast to Coast, I think it was a perfect fit. I'm sorry that he's gone. He passed away as well. What's up, Walter Cannon said, Base, productive new year to you, your two producers, and your family. Thank you so much, and to your family as well. Happy New Year, Walter Cannon. Yeah, Webb and Pinky, I'm glad that they're on board. Gotta get some tea here. Tea is good. Let's see here. So we touched on this yesterday when we were on briefly yesterday. This whole thing with Cat Williams and going after comedians and him being on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp. So again, I had to whittle this down to segments because the whole thing, again, its totality is like 2 hours and some change, the whole interview. So I was seeing bits and pieces of it. What have you seen and what do you think of the whole thing with Cat Williams? Well, the one thing about Cat is that it's not like it's not calculated. I think a lot of it's calculated and it's done for a reason. And the one thing he said, and just paraphrasing what he said about Shannon Sharp's program, one thing, Shannon has become a very good skilled interviewer. I would like to interview him one day if, good Lord willing, creek don't rise. He does his homework. He has great pace and timing with his guest. And see, when you have a guest like Kat, you just let them go. As a host, you know, to do so much. Just ask a few questions and be engaging and let them go. They have a lot to talk about, a lot to say, obviously, and they just go. As a fellow interviewer, I admire that. So when you look at it from a guest perspective, they just off to the races. So the one thing that caught me off guard a little bit was when he, meaning Kat, talked about Friday After Next. It was the second installment of the Friday franchise. And ironically, it was Cat Williams' first movie. That was his first movie. And so people become responding to what Kat said. So Kat said that, let's see. Excuse me. I need more tea. So Kat was referring to Ricky Smiley, who was on Shannon's show prior to him being on there. And he was addressing the fact that I'm sorry to get everything together. Kat said that he, meaning Ricky Smiley, said that he was originally supposed to be Money Mike. He was cast as Money Mike, and then they changed and then decided to give him the Santa Claus role. And Kat said that he went to go audition in LA. He was number 201. Eventually got the role. So how did he get the role to audition if Rick already had the role of Money Mike? So now here where it gets dicey at, because now everybody's going into their neutral corners and coming out giving their versions of it. Once again, this happened 20 years ago. I don't know my own name until 12 noon Central Time, let alone what happened 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. So you have to take it with a grain of salt and pepper and paprika. So Ricky Smiley went on his morning show to address that. He had his former agent on, and they claimed that they were flown out to LA to go over the role of Money Mike. That they got the role of Money Mike, and then was given a phone call to say, we're going to make a change and go and go and him to play the role of Santa Claus. Now, the one thing that threw me off was, and once again, I consider the source, when Kat said, the next movie I'm in, if he, meaning Ricky Smiles in it with me, he must wear a dress. That has to be in my contract, in Cat Williams' contract. There's no money in the world to put in their contract, Doc. There's no way in the world to put in the contract. No. Ice Cube even responded to the Cat Williams interview on Club Shay Shay. Right, I saw that part. I saw the response that Cube said. And like Cube said, you make changes to characters. You have them come out, audition for various characters, see which one will fit them. Now, the whole thing about the whole rape stuff, because that's another thing that he had talked about, meaning Cat Williams, was there's supposed to be a rape scene, and he had talked to the movie people and producers about don't do the rape scene and everything else. And Cube was like, I've never, ever had any type of rape, because first and foremost, it's not funny, no matter who gets raped. Second of all, He said, "Look at my body of work. It's never raunchy, with the exception of the Players Club that Ice Cube did had raunchy material in it. Other than that, he doesn't do raunchy stuff." So you have all these people coming out and giving their version of what happened. So it's not more you can do at this point, because everybody's coming out saying, what was the other thing that he said? That Cedric the Entertainer stole his joke, and Cedric responded, "I ain't steal nobody's joke. That's been mine. I wrote that. It's original, everything else." So now, of course, it's he said, and things of that nature. I was told in the world of comedy, they steal jokes all the time. Comedians do. Since the beginning of comedy, it's damn self. They've always taken somebody's line and making it their own, and rebranding it for themselves. So what did you think of the whole thing with Cat Williams and what it went down? I thought it was an interesting conversation, and we're talking about it now. I mentioned before about it yesterday, and just to see people online go back and forth with it, uh, definitely shook up a few trees. A lot of shaking going on. You want to call in, please have at it 312-597-2106. You continue to comment in the comment section there. Or I can send you the link. If you want the link, then come on in. Sick, if you're still there, let me give you, I think I'd give you an explanation. I think a couple of times you tried to get into the show, and I have a rule. I usually do one person per program. I don't have them come back in twice. I try to be fair to other people who want to come in as well. So I don't do a person coming in twice. I usually try to keep it one person at a time. So that's not a slight on you. That's just a rule that I have in the show to keep it with individuals coming in on a consistent basis. So I remember one time, I think I saw you in the private chat, and usually when I had the dashboard here in front of me, private chat is usually never used. So let me explain it to you and other people. So to come back in twice to a program, I don't usually do that, but traditionally it's like one per customer. Oh, thank you. Six says, "I understand. No problem, sir." No, thank you for understanding. And also, Sigurd typed, Eddie Griffin had a rap song about the jokes thieves on First Time Comedy album back in 93, 94. Right. And then Luda came out with a track against Cat. So it's just been a lot of let me clap back, I guess you want to call it that. Let's see. Good morning, King. Milton Berle stole jokes for years. That's nothing new. Going back to the days of Milton Berle and those guys, Omar type. Good morning, Omar. Yeah, no, once again, no, it's nothing new at all. It really isn't. It's so like, who owns what to a degree? And I do believe that you can get offended, but it's to be expected. It really is. If you hear a joke that you can turn around and do something with it on yourself, then that's what you do. I personally don't like it, but that's what they do. It's been going on since the beginning of time itself. It's a lot to process. It really is. And I would get upset. But if that's the nature of the beast, then it's to be expected. They do it all the time. And I remember a joke that I heard Red Fox do, say, in the 80s, and then years later, I was watching this up and coming comedians on HBO at the time, and this guy told the same joke, the exact same joke. So stealing material comes to the territory. Dennis Leary stole Bill Hicks' entire routine back in the 80s, Sick Tights. Well, it goes back to what Kat said, that Steve Harvey stole Mark Curry's act, especially the sitcom idea for the Steve Harvey show, the one he did when he was a teacher. Mark Curry did that years ago on ABC's sitcom Hanging with Mr. Cooper. They do all the time. The only person Cat Williams didn't take a shot at was D.L. Hughley. He didn't take a shot at D.L., and he gave flowers to Bernie Mac. Again, he, meaning Cat Williams, mentioned that that Steve Harvey tried to undercut Bernie Mac for his role in the movie Ocean's 11. Now, I said it before, and I'll say it again. The one thing I appreciate about the original with the Rat Pack and even the remake is that you look at the remake with George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and others who just have a natural cool factor about themselves. And Bernie Mac fits that like a glove. Just natural cool from head to toe. Can you see Steve Harvey in the mix of those guys? I don't think so. Steve's very loud, as I said before. But that's about it. I never thought Steve Harvey was funny, and still don't. I just never put him in the pantheon of great comedians. Still go back to right place, right time. See, I mean, these guys are cool. Don Cheadle, Bernie Mac, Matt Damon, etc. Those guys are cool. You gonna throw in Steve Harvey's ass in there? I don't think so. I just no. Did I say no? No. No, hell nope. How about that? Hell no. It just, one of these things is not like the others. The names you just typed, sick, the names I mentioned, of course, going back to that movie, a Steve Harvey does not fit. At all. It's one of those things where that would not surprise me if Steve tried to undercut Bernie to get that gig. And let's be for real, for real. If you're looking at a comedic or even serious leading man situation, would you go for a Bernie Mac or a Steve Harvey? I leave up to you to decide. You have to recognize talent for what it is. You have to acknowledge the fact that that person who's in that room with you is got something going on. But see, it's too much like right to support that person. It's too much like right to say, you know what, hey man, congrats. Or lady, congrats. I see you. You're doing your thing. Now, Sick says Bernie hands down. If for those of you still in the comment section besides Sick, if you had to pick between, again, Steve Harvey or Bernie Mac to be the lead in a, say, comedic movie or whatever, who would you go with? Which one would you go with? I just don't see nobody knocking on Steve Harvey's door a lot. At least Bernie Mac was working in movies. You know, the Charlie's Angels and Mr. 3000. He was actually the lead in that movie, Pride, the first Friday movie, How to Be a Player, go on and on and on. And so when that type of greatness is in the presence of who you are, you acknowledge that. That's what you do. You don't play or hate. If you play or hate, something's wrong with you from the jump. You don't have to be that way because you're stupid. So I realized that I think even though it's not advertised,
Right.
there has to be a place for stupid people. We don't know because we're not stupid, so we don't know anything about it. It's like a secret club society.
Oh my gosh.
So I come to the conclusion that he graduated from SU, stupid university. Yeah, all the stupid ass letters that go along with graduating high honors of being stupid. I can't do no more, man.
Aminos, dominos, vamonos. Stupid university. Where everyone graduates. Magna cum stupid.
Dare I say more? You all have always been great to me, and thank you so much for being a part of the first show of 2024 of Baseline. We do this every Saturday. That's at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central Time. And of course, West Coast people, yeah, I can hear you calling hogs already. Already. Yeah, shout out to the mad scientist Cole Johnson. Thank you, Sig. The man's a stone cold genius. Barbara Jean, that's right. Stupid University. That's right. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And they know who they are. And of course, what I said before about the West Coast people, yeah, let them sleep and catch on the replay. Again, let me reiterate. I'm gonna keep on saying this till I can't turn blue in the face. I guess I could, but that would be an incredible magic trick. Need to hear from you more vocal wise. If I have one wish for the new year and beyond, need to hear your voice. It's just that simple. I understand I'm the host. I understand that you're here to check me out. But again, your voice is needed too, not just mine. Yes, it's my show. Yes, I'm the host. But it's better. Would I lie to you? No. It's better to hear your voice. Let's see. You have a great weekend, Mr. Cannon, as well. Have a great weekend, Walter. Good morning, Base Nation. I go with the Mac Man, Bernie Mac. Yeah, thank you, Lisa London. Good morning to you too, and happies of New Year's. Yeah, to me, it's no contest. It's no contest. The man was smooth. The man was smooth and cool with it. Going back to Bernie Mac, what does Steve have? Oh, don't be wrong. He got Family Feud on lock. I give credit when credit's due. Real quick before we sign off, it was Steve Harvey becoming host of Family Feud syndicated and was able to increase ratings. He quadrupled the ratings. 4 times from coast to coast. One of the greatest, if not the greatest host of that program. I give you that. I don't care for his funky morning show. I don't care for it all. If that stopped right now, I'd probably dance a jig. Just not one of my favorite people, that's all. If you like him, fine. I don't see it. But I give credit when credit's due. Absolutely. So again, have a great weekend. Thank you for being here. I want to thank my producers, Webb Adderley and Cynthia Pinky Yvonne. for starting the new year off with me, and let's try to make some magic as we go further. But again, I need to hear more from you out there. I need to hear it. It will make the show 10 times better. You think I'm playing? Watch and see. And watch and hear and watch and listen. I'm telling you. Instead of just listen to me, just, do what I got to do. It's much more fun when you're a part of this from a vocal perspective. Again, have a good weekend. Continue to be safe. Continue to be sound. Continue to be healthy. And most importantly, above anything else, continue to be loved. Long live the peace. Long live the funk. More power to you. And be kind.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze car.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crown they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can beat up black people.
As he takes you through the week's paces in BaseLine. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific time zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel.